and welcome back to Focus. Today we're up to part 2 of our current series, Worry and Anxiety. Now last week I started by asking you the question, what is it that you worry about most? This week I want to take it a little bit deeper and ask, what is the reason behind why you worry about that thing? What is the underlying reason for your worry? Let's say, for example, someone is worried about their friend finding out that they go to church. The reason that they would be worried about that thing could be that they're afraid what their friend might think of them. They're afraid how that might affect their friendship and what their friend might do. So the underlying reason for that particular worry could be fear. Now, fear is always present in worry in some capacity. And it's often the things that we can't control, the things that we are uncertain of, that we worry about the most. So a lack of control, it leads to fear, which equals worry, and worry leads to stress, which equals anxiety. So let's just be honest for a moment. There are probably more things in life that we can't control than we can. More things that we're uncertain about than we're certain about. So there's lots of potential for anxiety and worry to creep in to our life, to creep into your life. So as a follower of Jesus, what can you do to be able to combat, to be able to kind of wade your way through cycles of worry and anxiety? Well, firstly, I think something that is really helpful is to know that you can change the way that you think. You can change the way you think. Maybe today you feel like you can't change the way you think. It's how you are, it's the way that you're wired, it's the way you'll always think because it's how you think at the moment. But the Bible seems to tell us that that isn't true. It says in Romans 12:2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. How awesome is that? So when uncertainty creeps in, when fear begins to kind of take over, you don't have to go down the road of worry and anxiety because you can invite God to help you to change the way that you think. I think that's pretty cool. That God can actually help us to navigate our worry and anxiety in a different way, to be able to think about it differently. You see, you can't always change a situation, but you can change the way that you view it. You can change the way you view it. The second thing, you need to know who it is that you're trusting. You need to know who you're trusting. So last week we said that peace is the opposite of worry, and that God gives us this peace which exceeds anything we can understand. So God gives us peace, which is the opposite of worry. So let's just talk practically about that for a moment. In a situation where you're feeling worried, where you're feeling anxious, in order to experience peace, you need a certain level of trust, don't you? Say, for example, you're about to sit an exam or a test and you're quite worried about it. In order to feel a certain level of peace before that exam, you'll have to put your trust in something. Either into your own ability to be able to do well at that exam. You could even put your trust in the fact that it will be okay afterwards, you'll figure it out. Or you'll put your trust in someone who can help you understand the things you don't understand and to be able to make you feel more confident about that exam. Only once you've done one of those 3 things will you feel a little bit more peaceful, right? But the problem with trust is that we don't tend to really trust people that we don't know. We don't tend to trust people we don't really know. So with that in mind, how well do you know God? What a question. How well do you know God? You see, if we want to experience God's peace, then we actually need to know Him. We need to trust Him with our worries, with our anxieties, and trust that He is in control of everything, that He knows how it's going to pan out. We might not, but He does. We need to be able to trust Him with that worry and with that anxiety. But if we don't know Him, how can we trust Him? So thirdly, you need to control fear. If fear is the root cause of our worry, which most of the time it is, then we need to learn to fear less. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says this, God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So the spirit that God has given you isn't one of worry and anxiety, but rather it's a spirit which can rise above that. It can conquer it through the power that God has given you, the spirit of power. How amazing is that? That actually God gives us this spirit that we can conquer and combat anxiety and worry with. And one last thing about fear, it says in 1 John 4:18 that basically perfect love casts out fear. It's talking about God's perfect love. His perfect love casts out all fear, is what it says. So if fear is the root cause of anxiety, a great way to be able to combat that is to know the perfect love that God has for you today. To really just know that you are his child, that he loves you, that he cares for you. There's another verse in Peter where it talks about, I think it's 1 Peter, where it talks about cast your anxieties on God because he cares for you. God cares today. So today, why not ask God to help you to change the way that you think, to know him more so that you can trust him, and to help you to fear less. Amen.